by a single motion. To save us all time, I'm going to read the items. If the council, any member wishes to remove one of the items, they can do so. We can consider them separately. Item 3 is adopting the minutes of our April 8th council meeting. Item 4 is a resolution adopting Bell County Hazard Mitigation Plan for 2025. Item 5 is approving a facade improvement grant application for exterior renovations to the structure at 106 North Main, located at downtown Belton Commercial Historic District between West Central and East First. Item 6 is another facade easement grant application for exterior renovations to the property located at 213 East Central in the downtown Belton Commercial Historic District. Item 7 is adopting a resolution authorizing the release of the city's of Belton's ETJ of approximately 15.6 acres owned by Mistex Investments LLC and is situated in the Young Williams Survey Abstract number 861, Bell County, Texas, being a portion of a called 235.3 acre tract of land recorded in document number 202100514. Man, that's like code. Located generally west of Interstate 35, south of FM 2484, and west of Williams Road. And the last on the consent agenda is adopt a preliminary plat for River Farms Phase 1A, comprising 21.1 acres, located generally east of Interstate 35 on Toll Bridge Road, north of the Lampasas River, and in the Belton's ETJ. Chair would entertain a motion, or we can pull the item.
I move we approve items 3 through 8.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda items 3 through 8. Any other discussion before we vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Nice shirt, Daniel.
Super cute.
City shirt day.
Super cute.
We texted each other.
Yeah, that's it.
I got the wrong memo.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Item 9 is in planning and zoning is hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from single family 3 residential district to single family 3 residential with a conservation revitalization overlay district on approximately 0.26 acres located at 3630 Brenda Lane. Christina.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to let you know this is an appeal of a decision from the Planning and Zoning Commission board. For this property, it is currently zoned single family 3. It was changed to single family 3 in 2022 from a previous applicant. This will add that CR overlay to allow for a manufactured home to be placed there with some additional requirements. The location of this property is off of Brenda Lane. It is on the north side, right adjacent to the Countryside Mobile Home Park. For this, a home was installed and we received a call from one of the property owners there asking why that type of home was placed there and asked for the city to look at it. We determined that the permit was not issued for the home to be installed and issued a stop work order for that when we evaluated it. Because of the applicant come in for permits and also to provide them information on the zoning. Here's a look of the home that was installed. For the CR overlay, we do require a couple different things, including an engineer foundation and skirting and siding that matches the exterior materials of other homes in the area. Also, it has some requirements for the eaves and roof pitch to be at a certain thing, so it looks more like a regular home, a site-built home. So those are other stipulations for the CR overlay. For this, the flume has this as residential. And this zoning is consistent with the flume. For water, this is in the dog water CCN. For sewer, we are installing new sewer lines in that area. They will be within 200 feet of that sewer line. And depending on timing, they may need to connect to that sewer line. Property owner notifications were sent out. We received a phone call from Mrs. McIntyre in support of the zoning change. This was previously heard by the Planning and Zoning Commission in 2021. At that time, there was a lot of oppositions from the neighborhood, so they had recommended disapproval of the zoning change at that time. And again, at the public hearing, there was one person that spoke in opposition of the neighborhood that was there at the previous meeting. So with that, the Planning and Zoning recommended disapprove of it, but should the council decide to approve it, we do require that it meets the single family 3 regulation and also the requirements of the CR overlay. It be constructed to building code standards and ensure architectural compatibility with the neighborhood. And the applicant must obtain permits for the utility connection with the city wastewater and also Dog Ridge water permits. With that, the applicant is here. Should you have any question, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have. This does require a supermajority vote because the Planning and Zoning Commission disapproved the item.
Quick question. You mentioned, I don't think I heard it. You said maybe 2021 is what I heard about when the planning and zoning reviewed this. When was this before?
It was in November of 2021 for the first zoning change. A previous owner applied for a mobile home district at that time, and it was disapproved at that time. And she came back in the following month with the single family 3 zoning, and that was approved in January 2022.
Okay. It's been 4 years.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And this property has changed hands since then.
Okay. Okay. Understood. All right. Any other questions before we open the public hearing? All right. We'll close the deliberations for the council, open it to the floor. If anyone wishes to speak in favor or against this item, now is the time for you to speak. We ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes during public comments, but you're free to speak. So anyone who wishes to speak, name and address for the record when you get to the mic. Thank you.
Hello, my name's JT Hahn, 4392 Betty Place, Salado, Texas. I kind of financed a lot for the Vicente and his wife about, I thought it was 5 years ago, but I guess it's 3 years ago. We bought the lot in the thoughts that we could put a mobile home there or a tiny home type home, affordable housing. And when we found this trailer, I was building a house for someone else and we found this one. So we got the trailer to move there. Pearl went to which is the daughter that is actually the owner. She went to the city to get the permits and they said, that's not in our district. You got to go to Dog Ridge. I made sure she went and did that before we moved it. We moved the trailer there. It's not put together. It's just moved there. That's when we found out that it was stopped. And we thought it was going to be septic. We had no idea that there was going to be sewer there at all either. All that being said, that is a area that has more affordable housing than other places in Belton. And we would just like to request that we could put affordable housing there. They've done a great job of working hard to be able to pay that lot off and stuff like that. And I don't see why that we can't. I understand that taking the integrity of the city, but like affordable housing is very hard to find right now, and taxes and insurance and things like that. And they've worked very hard to be able to have a home there so that their daughter and sons can go to Belton school district. So.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against this item?
Good afternoon. My name is Jose Gonzalez. I live in 3675 Brenda Lane, down the street, right from there where they're moving. I live in an exact identical home to where they're moving in. I've been there since 2020. I bought the property from the previous owner, and he had it there for a few years before that. Towards the end of the street, there's actually 4, maybe 5 homes with the identical substructure. All mobile homes. We run up septic on the last ones, and he's actually having sewer cooked up to his, so he doesn't have a lot of space to actually have a septic system, so he'll have access to the main city sewer. So I really don't see him bothering us at all in the street or messing with the structure of the actual street, due to the fact that there's other mobile homes down the street identical to it. Like I said, mine is one of them, and I've been there for a few years now. And like I did have to do a couple of things to bring it up to code, bring it up to speed, but obviously he's doing that as well as far as with the skirting and anything else that might be required.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Justin is going to be our translator tonight.
Okay.
Justin Marie.
Mi nombre es María del Carmen Coronel. Mi domicilio es 3664 Brenda Lane en Belton, Texas.
My name is Maria Carmen Coronel, and she lives in 3664 Brenda Lane, Belton, Texas, 76513.
Tengo ahí viviendo 6 años.
She's been living there for 7 years.
La llegada de la familia Martínez al barrio, yo estoy de acuerdo porque son personas honestas, trabajadoras y de buena conducta moral.
She knows the family, and they're a good, honest family, and they are hard workers.
No me perjudica en nada que tengan pues tienen su terreno, su casa móvil.
She has no problem with them moving into that area right there.
Ellos están en su espacio y al contrario mantienen limpio y en orden y eso nos beneficia a todos los vecinos del que vivimos ahí.
She says that is their area, and they do keep it very clean, and it is beneficial for the whole neighborhood to have them there because they do clean up the neighborhood, make it look good. That's everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es María Carmen Bedoya Ceballos. Soy la dueña de la propiedad. Nosotros anduvimos buscando que nos pusieran una mira para el agua. Hasta el momento no nos han dado información. Anduvimos no sé las direcciones, pero anduvimos por la 2410. De allí nos mandaron al centro. Sorry.
No.
Name and address.
Her name. Oh, Maria Carmen Bodella.
Bedoya.
Bedoya. She is the property, the owner of 3630 Brenda Lane. And ¿dónde están?
Nosotros estamos viviendo en Temple,
Right now, they're living in Temple.
pero nos queremos mover para acá por el bienestar de los niños, para la escuela.
She wants to move over here for the school district.
Y le digo, y aquí están los permisos que anduvimos sacando. Este fue donde anduvimos, este fue el permiso, la aplicación de.
She has the
Que
zoning
nos negaron.
change application right here.
Y es también el de que pagamos para venir aquí a corte.
And she has paid the cost to go to court.
Y este es donde nos mandaron que porque según no teníamos una dirección. Anduvimos de lugar en lugar en lugar para encontrar.
Oh, para
Que
buscar
nos hicieran caso, pero hasta la fecha no nos han.
Que no encontraban el lugar de ahí del terreno, la
Ajá.
dirección.
Porque encontraban el lote 6 y el 8, pero el 7 no estaba.
Oh, okay, they've been looking for this lot 7, ¿verdad?
Ujú.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
Y esa es la copia para si gustan ver dónde anduvimos nosotros.
Buscando.
Chequen lo que anduvimos haciendo.
And here's a paperwork, trying to get the physical address right here.
Para que me pusieran la mira de la
So they could get the
Yes.
meter, they're trying to get a meter for
Hace-
Doddridge put there.
Hasta la fecha no nos han
hace,
dado nada.
hace un año.
And hace años que no
Yeah.
quedaron. They've been applying for a water meter for a year now,
Y no nos han dicho ni pone, ni pone, ni.
and they haven't been helped out whatsoever.
Y ahorita hasta la fecha, fuimos a meter el permiso antes de agarrar este otro permiso, la trailer, pero como no teníamos todavía una casa móvil que fuera toda la información, entonces no llenamos el permiso. Pero la señorita que estaba allí enfrente era muy amable y nos dijo que sí podíamos poner una casa móvil.
She said she was trying to get everything ready for the mobile home, but she did not have all the paperwork yet, and so she went to the city hall, and she said the lady was very helpful and told her that she could move that there.
Pero fue hace un año antes de este otro permiso, reciente.
So I said, I know this was.
Es de hora de febrero.
And then a year's passed by, and then she finally has got this physical copy.
Y yo hablé con ella y le dije, cuando me dijeron que no nos podían dar el permiso, yo le dije, ¿qué podemos hacer? Buscamos firmas con los vecinos, pero nos dijo ella que no, que nos fuéramos a corte. Entonces yo le dije, ok, está bien. Por eso la fecha de la corte es después del permiso.
Okay. So, she was trying to get a petition, and then the lady at the city hall told her just to come to court, and esta es la, estuvo buscando.
Ajá, aquí está donde según no había una dirección, teníamos que ir a buscar una dirección y un número. Y lo agarramos y metimos toda la información. En este de acá es uno es del permiso que es esto, y este es el pasaporte.
So what happened was I guess they were trying to do this a year ago, but they were denied. And because of this paperwork here, and they finally got the physical address.
Y ellos quieren chequear los datos.
¿Era de council or de corte?
City council.
No, esta es la aplicación que nos dieron para agarrar el permiso.
Permiso.
Ajá, para poner la trailer.
Okay. And este.
Aquí tiene la
Our
fecha.
daughter can translate.
El 2, que viene siendo febrero 19 de este año.
Sorry, Justin. I think the daughter would like to
Okay.
step in to translate what's being said.
So is there water?
No, sir, there is no water. We've been a year, last year, we've been looking for water supplies and everything. They send us from Dog Ridge all the way to, let's see, what was it? The building permit application to be able to have an address. Because they could never find our address. It was lot 6, lot 8, but there was never a lot 7. So they told us, go online trying to look for your lot. The lot never had an address. We went from one place to another, bouncing up and down. We went to City Hall. City Hall said we could have a mobile home, but they said it was not supposed to be too old. The lot was supposed to have, as long as we put the mobile home and then we fixed it over time to make it look like an actual house, that we could have it there. But last time my mom came in and talked to Miss Moore, my brother was there to translate. She told my brother that she didn't understand what he was saying. He was speaking in English. He was translating back and forth to Spanish to English. I had to get off of work to come and translate for my mom and dad. She did not say anything about any requirements of anything of how we were supposed to put in the lot, how the trailer was supposed to be, or anything like that. She missed, I don't know if she missed some information, but she only said you need to come and get the zoning change application, and it's a $300 fee. We came in last Tuesday on April 15th. There was no translator. She knew my parents did not speak English or Spanish. They didn't speak English. They only speak Spanish. And there's no translator to help them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to check these?
No, it's okay right now. We're just, right now, we may, if we need to ask, we will.
Yeah. Ok. Vinimos la semana pasada.
Mhm.
¿Qué te digo?
They went last week.
Ok. Mandaron cartas según
They sent,
de los vecinos.
¿quién?
La del City.
The city sent.
Ajá. Que mandó cartas
Mhm.
para que vinieran.
Mhm.
Y ellos no recibieron ninguna carta. Por eso ahora vinieron.
Okay, they're saying the city has sent out cards telling them to come, but they have never received cards.
Después para que se naira.
So they could sound like a petition of some sort.
Y entonces el vecino el que no me quiere,
Mhm.
ahora les habló a los vecinos que yo hablé ya mal de los vecinos. Y yo nunca en un momento hablé de los vecinos.
Tu vecino,
Yeah.
and so
Aquí vino también aquí en la corte.
he's saying one of his neighbors that doesn't like him was here last week. And ¿quién estuvo diciendo?
Que yo que no quería según que porque tenían mucha basura y les dijo a los vecinos que yo había dicho.
Mhm.
Y ese día nomás habló mi niña, pero nosotros no hablamos.
Okay, que tú tienes mucha basura.
No, que todos los vecinos allí.
Oh, he was saying that he was talking about the neighborhood having a bunch of trash, and he did not say that.
Y yo no dije nada porque mi niña no dijo nada de eso.
And his daughter didn't say
Porque
any
fue
of
la
that.
única que habló ella.
And she was the only one that spoke last week.
Y entonces, ahora los vecinos ya me hablaron a mí, vivían enojados que porque yo les ando diciendo al Siri que ellos tienen basura.
And now the neighbors are mad at him for saying that he was talking about the neighborhood having a bunch of trash.
Y yo no quiero problemas con los vecinos.
And he doesn't want any problems with the neighborhood or the neighbors.
Y porque esa persona ahora me lo está a mí, que yo dije.
And now that one particular neighbor is saying that he's been talking bad about the neighborhood.
Okay.
That was everything.
Thank you.
Wait.
My name is Perla Martinez. I live at 3630 Brenda Lane. Last time, when, like I was saying previously, we were looking for information about our lot. There was never giving the right information. I was told that I needed a water meter. It's still time that I have never gotten the call back, an email or anything about whether we were gonna get the water meter or not. I also have some notes that I was told that if I knew the penal codes better, I could understand if whether we could have a mobile home or not. So it says here. There's also a question you can answer if you like. May a city regulate installation or mobile homes? An additional city can adapt or organize that required an industrial home to have a value equal to or greater than the median taxable value for each single family welded location within. My other question is it more dangerous to have a mobile home in my lot or having an RV parked outside in someone's neighbor, in front of their lawn? So so in Texas Transportation Code 3011.001 and 3011.002 means that the city council can pass an ordinance regarding or preventing RVs from parking in public streets. Those are all my questions for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, you can, yeah. Name and address for the record.
My name is Virgilio Carvajal. I live in 3642 Brandon Lane. And I'm a neighbor to Miss Martinez. And I feel bad for staying in this situation. And because I see there's a good people when they come over here. It's not ready to move, but it's coming like every day, play the kids and everything. And I had trouble. And couple years ago, saying I think that lots, I don't know what's the number, but M&H, that one he put like application or something for a move, and that people she cried because he wanted like a double mobile home, and what he says, I got money only for like a single home, but right now this person he got like a double wide. What is the problem to move? I don't know what is the point. Why the people she cry, oh, I don't want it, this mobile home if he is like a double wide.
So you're in favor of this?
Yeah, I'm
particular-
okay.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Okay.
Problem that person that had money for building the house.
Yep.
I don't understand really.
Okay.
But I'm happy with the persons coming to Brandon Lane.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Amy, do we have everybody's name and address as far as we know? Okay. 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 Thank you. Anyone else wishes to speak to this item? All right, there being no other speakers on the public hearing, we'll close the public hearing and reconvene to consider this item. First, before we reconsider, I want to thank you guys for coming and speaking. It's hard to do. It takes a brave soul to stand up in front of a body like this and to speak your piece. And so again, for all of you who spoke today, regardless of what the decision is, it took a lot of courage. And so again, I want to thank you for doing that. So, all right. All right. What say the council?
Separate from this request, I think we need to set up some standards for accessibility to translators. Through a service similar like we have to deaf translation, where we can call in. I think that's a big key here. I think that something's been missing there. That's just what I wanted to start with. So, okay.
there's a couple of things that I see here. One is, there's an issue with, I guess, the understanding of Dogridge Water Supply versus the city of Belton being separate entities with different review processes and different applications. And so we don't have any control over the water meter since that's in the Dogridge Water Supply. It sounds like that's not yet resolved. So there's still some work to do there. The fact of the matter is that the existing zoning does not allow mobile homes. And the onus is on the property owner to do the due diligence before they move a mobile home there. And so I understand the challenge in that also. Whenever I reviewed my packet and looked at this, I always reserve making my decision until we have the deliberation. I never try to pre-decide something before I come to the meeting. And I say that to say that your testimony today and support from your neighbors is impactful to me. It's a tough deal because a lot of Brenda Lane is normal single family homes, brick homes, what have you. And then the end of it, there's a collection of mobile homes there. And so I can see where that would be confusing. And it's tough to say something that, wasn't in the city and homes were built before the area was annexed, and then it's come into the city and there's kind of some catch up to do there. I think coming into the meeting, I probably thought that I would not support this, but it's tough and there's definitely some tension there. I think with the number of mobile homes that are just 2 doors down from this lot, I don't feel like it's an unreasonable request. I don't think it's a slam dunk, but I do find myself a little bit on the fence about it. And for that reason, I feel like I'm going to support the property owners in this one in their request. So I know that was a long vote, but those are my thoughts on this.
That's good.
Wasn't a vote.
Wasn't a vote.
Yeah.
That's right.
Would you clarify for us exactly what would have to occur if this were to approve and with a conservation revitalization overlay?
Sure. First, we would need to get a building permit.
I'm sorry.
First, we would
Building
need to get a building permit application into the city of Belton. We do need permission from the utility companies to connect, so we will need permission from Dogridge Water for a new meter to be added to that property. And we also would like for a connection to the city sewer on the property. So we will need a building permit to ensure all of those measurements are met, and also to ensure, again, some of the requirements in the PD, that there is an engineered foundation on the property. The skirting that we're requesting on the property, we need a site plan to look at the setbacks of the property, make sure it meets all of our requirements. So a building permit with a checklist of everything that we need will be provided to them for the applicant to know what would be required if this is approved. But the first step is to get a building permit.
Prior to 2021 and that rezoning change, could they have put a mobile home there?
No, sir, zone agricultural, just like most of the rest because of the annexation. So prior to that, they would not have been. There's one application, as you can see at the cul-de-sac that was zoned in 2018 that allowed for that. So there was a different zoning case for that, but other than that, nothing else. Everything would have to be changed from agricultural to a different zoning.
So it's all agricultural now.
But there are existing mobile homes on the same street?
There are toward the end in the cul-de-sac.
And they were
couple doors
grandfathered,
down.
is that right?
They are grandfathered except for the one that was approved in 2018.
Can we go back
It's
to,
hard to
yeah,
see it on the aerial. And we only have that one property. And-
I think there's a confusion.
They didn't have an address, so they couldn't get a water meter.
That's not, Dogridge wanted a septic plan to get the water meter.
Okay.
That's the reason.
Okay.
thank you. There,
And
yeah.
And again, the sewer line is under construction, so it's not live yet for them to tap
What's the
into.
timeline on the sewer?
Couple of months.
January 2026.
Okay.
Oh. That's the I-14 project.
Okay.
What are they doing?
Okay.
You said January 26th.
Yes, sir.
And so to issue a building permit, even if this was approved with a supermajority tonight, they would still have to, before they got a certificate of occupancy, they would have to do the engineered foundation and all of this. The sewer would have to come in and
Correct.
et cetera.
Yes, sir. And we might need to make a decision on whether or not septic is allowed if that is the lead time for the home, if it needs to be occupied before 2026.
It's 0.26 acres, right?
Correct, which is too small.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah,
health
0.5
department,
is
so
required for
Well,
sewer.
that's for a new plat. You can do
Yes.
infill development if you can meet the setbacks with the septic design
Gotcha.
that it doesn't spray within 10 feet of the property line and so many feet of the house itself and that kind of
No
thing.
roof itself.
Yeah, and there, I think that there would be, if this was approved, I think that there would be a question that the owners have to answer as to whether it's worth spending the money on a septic system or waiting a few months and tying into a sewer. It would probably be cheaper to run some sewer line than to install a septic system. But either way, all of the neighbors are on septic currently, so if they can figure out a way to do septic versus waiting for sewer.
Okay.
I think that that's a solid.
But where's the sewer line gonna be?
they're within 200 feet. I'm not quite sure the distance,
They're
though.
gonna have to run the 200 feet.
Yeah, it basically, Brenda Lane basically, if you remember, we come through all the properties, there was that phase 2 that kind of looped around, it kind of comes up, not necessarily intended, that initially the thought on Brenda Lane, knowing that all of those were septic, it's more to get out to the FM road there, 1670, so, but just by proximity, we start talking about it, it was like, seems like a valuable tie-in and probably better for the development for to tie into sewer, so.
So the sewer would be at the end of Brenda Lane along the FM.
It kind of comes through, if you go back to the aerial, in between, it's kind of hard to show you because we don't have a map out, but there's essentially a drainage way that goes through Brenda Lane.
Okay.
If you guys have your little iPad, you maybe can see just a little gap where there's kind of a drainage way. It's following that. That's the low point, and so that's where the sewer will be.
Any comments?
I think I would just add a little bit to what Dave was saying that, I mean, if you read it just straight through, it seems, but to hear what was shared this evening and the support from the neighborhood, when you look at I know mixed use is probably not the right term, but the mixed use that's there now, that's been there, I think it fits that. And if there's a way for us to accomplish this for them, I think that we need to do that.
I know this area has been before us multiple times. And it is an area in transition even before it was annexed. And certainly since that time. And it's understandable why there has been some confusion, and when you throw in Dogridge and all this other stuff. See, English is my first language and I'm confused. So.
And a language barrier.
I'm sorry?
And a language barrier has
Yeah.
created a lot of
It is.
confusion.
Do we know if septic will work there?
We'd have to get design, they'd have to get a design before.
Bill County, et cetera.
Yeah, I think based on some of the comments that are made, as if we were to do an approval, it would have to be a contingent upon approval.
Yeah, the issue before the council is the zoning decision, obviously.
You can go ahead and act on the zoning tonight. All the other stuff will come later if you
Before
approve
the
the zoning.
building permit.
And in fact, and I would hope somebody maybe they could come down to the city and explain to them, if in fact you do approve the zoning, which I have no idea if you're going to or not, obviously. But they could start all of these other processes by getting a building permit, everything else, but they would not be able to get a certificate of occupancy where they could actually move in until the sewer situation was satisfied.
Addressed one way or the other. Either
They
way.
could have a lot of things going on during the interim. But they couldn't move in until the sewer system was
So,
connected.
Can we make this recommendation based on this case, or does it stay with, since it's already a special with an overlay?
This is just one lot.
One lot.
You're just dealing
Right.
with the one
Yeah.
lot, right? Yeah.
So it'll just stay with that one lot.
Stay with the property, even if they couldn't.
Right.
get
Okay,
septic
okay,
or not.
okay. That's what I wanted to clarify.
I'm gonna make a couple comments and I think I'm going on a fat limb, but I think based on the barriers that have been encountered, the fact that we've had one approved in 2018, the toss up between when sewers come in, being told sewer, but now they've got to basically developer it and run sewer either down the street or through somebody else's easement, or it's not going to be on their street for them to just tie in their lot. I mean, I think there's too much that makes this difficult on the owner. And so I understand that confusion. And affordability is a big deal. And I think if we're looking at, based on what I can see on Google Maps, you know, the character of the neighborhood, even directly adjacent, I don't think the work they've done to clean up the lot already has helped. And so I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we approve this zoning change to be able to push it forward to where they can start to finally get some relief and work on some of these things that I think are being held up by this process.
I'll second.
Before we vote, I would
Yeah.
just like to.
Yeah, give me a second. Yeah, so we have a motion and a second to approve the item that's been appealed, item 9. Yeah, further discussion.
Just want to make sure that the translator has made it clear to the families here that there are still hurdles. Even if we approve this, there are still quite a few things that have to be accomplished before, as John said, a certificate of occupancy could be.
Justin, can you come up?
Microphone.
Can you come up?
I've spoken to them and they understand the conditions that they can't live until their sewage, whether it be through the main or through a septic tank, but they are willing to wait till get that septic, and they're okay with waiting till the 26th, I believe.
No, January,
That a date,
the
and
year 2026.
the 2026, but they're okay, they're aware of that, but they're also if it does work out, they will go. They already know that they're wanting to go septic as well.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I'll just add to it again. Thank you for coming and pleading your case. The ability to speak to your reality is powerful. And I think you have a very compelling story. I think just black and white rules. This is something that we would 100% support the Planning and Zoning Commission whenever they said no, because they heard the people complaining about it. They didn't hear your voices. We hear your voices, and the same truth sounds different. And so again, thank you for being here. Thank you for speaking your piece. These are the kind of citizens we want in our community, ones that want to take ownership and fight for in a reasonable way for their community and their neighborhood. And thank you for the neighbors that came as well. So I'll let anyone else speak if they want. If not, all in favor of approving this, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. So good luck on the next stage. It won't be easy, but good.
Mayor, if you just, they're already dealing with us, Dog Ridge, but the septic tank, so everybody knows, is a county deal.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
And a third.
Belton Health District. You know, JT.
Right.
Yeah.
And they don't have an engineer right now, so good luck.
Right.
That's either good news or bad
Figure it
news.
out.
Right. We would certainly invite the property owner and come down and visit with Justin present, basically to talk through the conditions that are required. The zoning has been approved, so the use is allowed, the mobile home use is allowed, but as stated, there are a number of conditions that have to be satisfied. We want you to fully understand those before you go further. As was stated, it is a platted lot, and so there is an opportunity for a septic tank, but we also want to fully evaluate the sewer line extension as the preferred alternative for ultimate. So, thank you.
And Mayor, I do appreciate P and Z and the effort that they put into
Absolutely.
it. I know there was an awful lot of deliberation during that meeting.
Yes.
But
Tough call. we.
I think y'all also had a lot different crowd representation at your meeting than this one.
Well,
Yeah.
and I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing for P and Z to look at something and make a decision and the council to make a different decision. I think that the
That's
scope
part
of
of the
P and
process.
Z is a little more narrow, and I think that's just the nature of it.
I mean, they literally did what mayors appointed them to do.
Yeah, that's
The letter of the ordinance, so.
great job, P and Z.
So, good job.
Okay. All right, we're gonna jump to the next one. So item 10, hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from agriculture to single family one on approximately 4.38 acres located at 7040 Longbow Road. Christina.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. This property is south of Interstate 14 and is on the west side of Simmons Road, going toward the lake. The applicant is looking to subdivide this lot in the future into 1 acre lots and also looking to construct detached homes in that area. This area is not in the city water CCN or in the wastewater CCN. So they will be required to get an on-site septic and also a permit with Dog Ridge for water connection as well. The future land use map supports a residential use in this area. We received one letter of support from adjacent property owner in this area. With that, the applicant is here. Should you have any questions for them? And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have as well. Justin.
All right, we will close our deliberations, open the floor, and anyone who wishes to speak for or against item 10 on Longbow Road, now is your time to do so. Name and address for the record.
It's Tommy Shaw. Live at 4707 High Oak Drive, Belton, Texas. I'm here on behalf of the owners. They purchased this land. Carrie, if you can go ahead and put this up. I know this is just kind of standard going from agriculture into R1.
Single family one.
Single family, there you go. You can kind of see here it is from a drone shot, kind of the layout. Carrie, if you'll go a little bit more. And so they originally were wanting to put a venue out here, but we did go in and see Tina, and Tina said we have to play by the rules. So no business out there. And so he wants to divide this part up. And go ahead, Carrie, if you'll go to the next one. This just gives you an idea. We're working with all county right now. And on the next slide, you'll see the way it's going to be divided up. So after speaking with Tina and understanding that there was a new ordinance that came out last year in this particular area, because it is Dog Ridge water, no structures within 500 feet of each other if they're larger, or I'm sorry, 100 feet if they're larger than 500 square feet. They can't be within 100 feet of each other. So I went to see Chief Fontenot, and I will tell you, I thought it was going to be like, here's the rules. Sorry, I can't help you. But he actually spent close to an hour and a half just brainstorming with me on how can we make this fit for the homeowner. So Chief, I appreciate you doing that, sir. And I think the fire marshal was there also. Anyway, so he actually gave us an idea of using the code 13D, putting fire suppression in the homes, but Dog Ridge cannot handle that out there. So this is the zoning that they would like to do, and that will be coming up as soon as we get the plat from All County Surveying. It will look something like that, and they plan to build some houses out there. So thank you, guys, and thank you, Tina, for always helping us.
Anyone else wish to speak in favor or against this item? Being no other speakers, we will close the floor and reopen our deliberations. Any comments, questions, or a motion?
Looks like a good plan. I move we make a motion to approve item Z 2513.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the zoning change on Longbow Road. Any other comments before we vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 11, hold a public hearing and consider zoning change from ag to single family one on approximately 10 acres located at 6959 Longbow Road. Ms. Tina.
I want to say ditto, but
Yeah, it's across the street.
it is across the street, and they're also looking for a single family one zoning district. Another future subdivision is planned for that area to subdivide this into 1 acre lots. And their plan on constructing detached homes. Again, this is not in the Belton CCN area. Dog Ridge and Septic tank will be required with approval from the Bell County Public Health District. The future land use map supports residential in this area, and the adjacent properties are all residential. We did receive one property owner notice today. The applicant was in support, but she was concerned about her view shed, making sure that she still has a view of the lake. And also, I believe it was habitat crossings was the last part that she was concerned about. But other than that, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the zoning change, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have. And I believe Mr. Tommy has another presentation that Mr. Shaw wants to show you guys.
All right, so we'll close our deliberations, open the floor. Round two. So anyone who wishes to speak for or against this item.
My name is Tommy Shaw. I live at 4707 Harvey Drive, Belton, Texas. So again, you can kind of see this is at the corner of Longbow and Simmons. So the Robinson family bought this a couple of years ago, this property, and it was covered in trees. As he started taking some trees out, he realized there's some great views right there. And this is actually a valley that heads down and goes against Corps of Engineer properties. And so as he's cleared this out, again, after meeting with Tina and Chief Fontenot, you can go ahead to the next slide. Thanks, Gary. He's decided to take it. There is a house there right now. And so again, trying to follow the guidelines from the ordinance that came out last year, this will be 4 lots, which is the maximum we can have without fire suppression. So the house is on 1, and then go ahead, Carrie. And then, so you'll see on this side, there's going to be 1 lot, and on the side where the valley is, there'll actually be 2. And they should all have some great lake lots to them. And Carrie, one more picture, you can kind of see again, the kind of the overview of what it's going to look like. So again, there'll be 1 home to the right, and there's enough to put 2 to the left. So Carrie, if you'll just show us that drawing, then this is kind of what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. Everything will be 1+ acre. As soon as it's for sale, I hope y'all buy some.
Do you mind pointing out where that existing house is?
On number 2.
Okay, that's the shaded area.
Are you saying my drawing of the house isn't?
I just wanted to make sure. I saw a little squidward there, and I just wanted to make sure that was.
It looked like a metal roof instead of a shingle roof.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah,
Dan.
that's right.
Realtors understand these things. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, anyone else wish to speak in favor or against this item? All right, there being no other comments, we will close the floor and reopen for deliberation. Comments, questions, or a motion?
A motion to approve agenda item as presented.
We have a motion and a second to approve item. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, passes unanimously. All right, thank you, Tina. Item 12, hold a public hearing and consider amending chapter 4 of the Code of Ordinances by addressing sections 436 and 437 related to fence requirements. Bob.
Great, thank you very much. You mentioned the purpose of this item is to consider an ordinance that establishes additional requirements for fencing. The proposed ordinance basically supplements the existing codes and proposes to what I call close the gap. Some of the requirements of fencing, giving us standards to review a fence when we get an application, in addition to the existing conditions that we have today. The current codes we have current that cover fencing include the zoning ordinance, the design standards, the Imagine Belton standards that we recently adopted, and the engineering design manual. So we have a lot of criteria that are covered and handle these things. And although these codes are very good at covering the things that we feel are important today, for instance, when a fence is needed between commercial and residential, things like that, the height of a fence. They don't necessarily, give the specific requirements that we need in order to fully review a fence permit, so to speak. And I'm referring to an experience that we had on North Main, where we had a situation where we just disagreed with the situation, but we had no criteria in order to deny the permit. So we embarked upon a solution, which we hope you all will agree to fill in the gaps of our existing codes and the issues that we felt are unaddressed. So just the highlights of the ordinance that is in your in your packet and the ordinance that we're proposing. We talk about materials, expand the list of materials. It's fences relationship to right-of-way easements and visibility triangles. We most certainly have to cross-reference other codes. We talk about ADA accessibility and how fences cannot interfere with that. We talk about how fences cannot interfere with traffic circulation and to affect the number of required parking spaces that are on a site. And, you know, obviously cannot have a negative impact on neighboring property and have cannot affect the access to a site or a site to the right of way. And the way that we have, you know, talked about that is that, you know, maybe we don't want vehicles backing out of a commercial piece of property into a right of way like Main Street or Sparta or anything like that. And we don't want the fence to cause that. We just don't want that to occur. So our recommendation, I just want to make this presentation short and so that we can get into the questions if you have any later on. So we would recommend you have the public hearing and then consider the fence ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. This being a public hearing, the three items prior to this being public hearings, this is old hat. So we're going to close our deliberations and open the floor. If anyone wants to talk about fences, now's your time. Good, bad, or indifferent. All right. Nobody wanting to discuss fences, we will close the floor and we will reconvene. Any comments, questions, or motion?
Does traffic flow, that comment adequately address access by fire and EMS?
It does. It does.
Okay.
You know, if we, I'm not gonna talk for the chief, but I also don't want to put him on the spot. We have requirements in the fire code that address access requirements. And so the fence, you know, cannot impede those access requirements.
Right. And so within the ordinance, as you presently propose it, we've adequately addressed that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So hypothetically speaking, if there's a red line in a parking lot that says fire lane and somebody puts perpendicular to that a fence, that impedes the fire lane, correct?
It does.
And so it's and that's not subject to a non-conforming grandfathered use. That is a safety issue.
It is a safety issue, exactly.
Okay. I think we might have one of those at the corner of Main and 6th. Where's the fire lane on that? No, I'm saying it would not be subject to a grandfathered non-conforming use.
We actually looked at that from a fire protection standpoint and the bottom line on that situation is that the access to the building is not impeded.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's a shallow lot. It's a fairly
Okay.
shallow lot.
Okay.
Yeah, the building is actually within 150 feet of the road and the road is considered our access.
Oh, is it? Okay, so you can
Not
shut
the
down the
parking
road.
lot. Yeah.
Okay.
There are deeper parking lots that would be affected. Awesome.
Got two questions. In residential neighborhoods, it's quite common to have fences along your back property line and side property lines. And in a lot of neighborhoods along the back property line, when there's overhead electric, it goes down the back property line over the fences. And on the survey, it'll show, 5-foot utilities or 10-foot utilities or something like that. And you don't have any buried utilities there, but you've got overhead electric.
Right.
The way the proposal is written is that the fence shall not be built within or across a utility easement or a drainage easement unless approved by the utility provider.
Right.
Could there be an exception for overhead utilities as opposed to buried utilities? Well,
that's a good point.
Any thoughts on that?
An exception in terms of what do
Where
you mean?
where a fence could be allowed to be built underneath overhead utilities.
Oh, yeah.
I certainly don't want people to dig a post hole for a fence and go through a water line or a sewer
Right,
line or a gas line or something like that. But
electric.
or buried electric, yeah. But when
Yeah,
when you've got overhead electric, I wouldn't think that a fence would mess with that. I know that obviously the electric provider still has the right to go in there, and if they need to tear down the fence to
Right.
work on their lines, they've got the
Right.
right to do that with the easement. But it's quite common to have fences underneath overhead electric.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what we imagine is that if somebody applies for a fence permit, then we would circulate that to the appropriate utility companies, including the overhead guys. And they will review it, and then they would give us their opinion about what, the homeowner should do. We actually talked to Encore this afternoon about that, in terms of, how that would work. And they've actually reviewed our ordinance and think it's a good product. They would most likely not give us any feedback on that because they know what this historical situation is, that they'll put a fence in there. It's basically they look at it as an encroachment into their easement. Actually, it's a PUE, not necessarily an Encore easement, that kind of thing.
So
So it would have, it would be able to get a permit for that.
you just said it probably wouldn't in the way you just said that.
Oh, well, maybe I wasn't.
Well, because they see it as an encroachment. And so when I hear they think of it as an encroachment, then they're not going to allow for this. And
That's-
so the thing is, the question is, once we open that door and Pandora's box door and it goes there and we start getting a stream of no's, are we going to then have to go and revisit this ordinance?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I probably didn't use the appropriate word. I was using his words.
Okay.
The word he used was an encroachment.
Yep.
And he was not implying, or he was quite straight up with us, that's the terminology they use in order to review a permit, but they most likely would never ever deny one because of the historical situation.
And I'll add a little bit to it. They mentioned today that they're only when they do their encroachment is their term.
Yes.
That's what they use. As long as it's not close to the conductor, which is way high up. So they said 8 foot and below is rarely ever, except extreme grade issues, going to come into equation. But what will happen is we would get the permit. All the poles in Belton are either majority are owned by Encore, and if they're not owned by Encore, they're owned by AT&T. And so we would send that to them. We would give them, because the other side of it is asking Encore for permission and making sure that you get a timely response that is in line with the customer service we want. And they said that just to put a day limit on them for them to respond, and that this is common, and that they will respond, and in almost all occasions they are just going to say there's no issue, there's no encroachment, proceed. They're not going to give approval because it's not their approval to give.
Yeah,
it's a public utility easement. And so anyway, they did respond and felt very comfortable with.
So if we
with
don't
that.
get an objection from Encore AT&T, then we can give the approval as a city.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. My other question is the prohibition of barbed wire. There are a lot of areas in the city that are agricultural in nature, especially on the outskirts. How would that work? And can somebody who has 100 acres on the outskirts not have a barbed wire fence?
Well, our initial thought was, what we were thinking of in terms of barbed wire was the barbed wire on top of a fence, kind of like at a.
Like razor.
Yeah, like razor wire, things like that. So as a matter of fact, let me just kind of scooch ahead and, we pulled some pictures together. And this is what we're thinking, because we didn't actually think about ag uses, that kind of thing. Of course, we want to make sure that all fences are on outside of right of way, outside of easement. I mean, that occurs in ag areas as well.
So what do you do for security areas?
We are suggesting from a policy perspective that the razor wire on top of there is not allowed.
So around a like a tower, substation or something like that, when they're trying to keep people from, or let's say, I don't know, a water tower, when you don't want people to come in.
County jail.
Or county jail.
Right. So that's what we're saying. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, saying you can't do this.
I think there's a variance to that exception, right, Bob? Is in those instances what they're talking about with for instance, a pump station requires said 3-strand barbed wire to be around the top. I think in those instances on its merits, we're just generally saying applying barbed wire without a high security purpose.
But you're saying there's a way for a provision to exception. to get an
Okay, variance
exception.
request.
Right.
Well, we probably need to have that variance,
Yeah, we
like
need it written in there, I
permitted
guess.
variances in the ordinance instead of by request.
Yeah, exactly.
So we don't have to come here.
You can make an, possibly if you want to.
Yeah, we could
Suggest
maybe
making
make
an
an
edit to an amendment
yeah,
that
amendment.
clearly specifies
Yeah.
the locations that
Yeah.
would be eligible.
Do we have a big problem with people putting barbed wire and razor wire fences where they're not supposed to be?
The questions come up a couple of times and we've thought, well, we don't have anything to prohibit it. And so we thought at this opportunity, we throw it out there and see what happens.
I think some businesses see a back lot or some security type fencing, think about it.
Mhm.
I don't know if you had made a request. I didn't see it coming up, but yeah, something like that.
And if we had that, would we decline that? Would we turn down a variance? I mean,
Up to you.
It would, yeah, it would have to go through voting, have to go through the due process, due diligence, whatever,
It'd probably be better if you gave the staff the authority on a case by case basis to allow those fences, and if they did, they would come to you.
Maybe
Yeah,
for
probably
You
not
don't wanna-
wanna-
You don't want to say that somebody absolutely can't put one of those up because they're everywhere.
maybe for public projects. Well, like you said.
Yeah, I think,
It might not even
Actually,
be for
the
public
cities-
projects. It's just gonna be this.
I think we could probably amend the current, instead of sending it all the way back, I think we could probably.
yeah,
in our
but we
motion,
just
we could
had
amend
that administrative approval is
Yeah.
acceptable for the variance on barbed wire, razor wire. That,
Second.
Yeah.
And of course, y'all can always
All right.
do anything.
Yeah, but if we don't know it's happening at the staff level, then we can't, because if stuff's just getting
I
picked
say,
out.
give the staff the ability to grant
Yeah.
the variance where you don't have to come to you, but if the staff doesn't do it, then the owner, if they want to pursue it, they can come to the council.
If I heard Dave's motion.
well,
and-
I'm gonna make it clear.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve this item as presented and add that administrative approval by staff can be given for barbed wire and razor wire fences where appropriate.
We have a motion, a second to accept the fence requirements, but adding administrative approval in the case of barbed wire and razor wire for security, and I think I also heard for ag uses where appropriate.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's the motion, a second. Do any other comments or questions before we vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you.
Passes unanimously. All right. Lucky 13, consider resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an advancing agreement, AFA, with the Texas Department of Transportation for widening of South Connell Street from Loop 121 to Shrey Way. CSJ number 0909-36-210.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'll be brief with this one. Y'all are aware of the South Canal project. It's an existing largely 22-foot wide roadway. We'll be widening that to 44 feet. We have right-of-way acquisition firms currently going to work. We authorized that in our last meeting. What we're coming down to is the funding mechanism at the moment. You'll be aware, Sam had sent a message earlier this year that we thought we had it. We thought we had the, earmark allocation for the full roadway. That since did not happen. We're encouraged by some dialogue that Sam has had with Carter's representatives that we may be eligible for some more. But what was approved through K-Tempo was funding for one phase of this roadway. And that phase we're going to call phase one, which is Loop 121 to Shrey Way. Shrey Way was kind of the Huey Shrey Way. It's kind of that middle section of the Huey just felt a bit short. I think we could, with the monies that we are allocated through K-Tempo. So K-Tempo money is already authorized. It's ready to go. I'm not even doing the PowerPoint I should be showing you, but real quick, this is the Shrey Way that you're seeing, Loop 121 phase one, and then the remaining would be done phase two, hopefully either with the remaining earmark, or potentially another round of funding from K-Tempo. Phase one would get done. That funding would become available in 2027 per this AFA. But obviously tonight, signing the AFA is a commitment that we are ready to execute phase one. There is a match of about $1 million for us and over $3.5 million or so in funding, federal funding from the K-Tempo 3.7 there. So with that, we would recommend authorizing the AFA. The AFA, just real quick, just procedurally, allows us to have dialogue and review with TxDOT. Before that, right now, this project isn't really I don't want to say it's not on TxDOT's radar, but it's not part of their review or scope. Entering into the AFA, we then will start to work with them closely, critical during the right-of-way acquisition because we have to get environmental clearances up and down the way. So that's the reason for it. And we recommend proceeding with authorizing the AFA.
All right. So got the presentation. There is no public hearing, so you wish to make a motion? Or
I do have a question.
Yep.
When looking at straightaway to 14, I can't even say that right. From where we're stopping for phase 2.
Yep.
If bids come back favorable.
Yeah, absolutely. We would just keep going.
Yeah,
yeah.
So like we're planning to say if we got creative, like I said in here, TERS funding and a bid came back.
Absolutely.
We could jump.
We could add scope. I mean, the good thing that we've done, the city initiated through TERS, initiated full design of the whole thing. So it's ready to go. It's ready to be designed, or it is designed. And we will have acquired all the right of way and we'll move utilities along the whole corridor. So you're right. In your example, if we got good bids and we had some leftover money, we're not going to leave it on the table. We're just going to keep going to meet our match requirement. And obviously maximize the funding from K-Tempo from the Fed.
Everybody's favorite line item is mobilization fees. So
yeah, MOB fees. Yeah, absolutely. So
any other comments or questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve item number 13 as presented.
Second. A motion, a second to approve authorizing the city manager to execute the AFA. I will say this, it's great to have the county on the TERS. I think Russell and the judge both encouraged us to be proactive in the way we look at these projects.
Yeah.
If we're thinking about doing it, go ahead and spend the money to get the engineering and start looking at right away, because if money shows up, you can act. If not, you'll always be behind. And so I think it's been really good advice. And it's also nice to have the TERS to have a little extra cash to go ahead and invest that. And so again, thanks to staff and also the county for participating. Any other comments before we vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, Mr. Delaying action. Like a federal thing. Consider a resolution delaying action on an ordinance authorizing the issuance of the City of Belton, Texas combination tax and limited revenue certificates of obligation in the amount not to exceed $17.7 million and other matters related thereto. Rogers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You'll recall that we planned on issuing bonds on April the 8th. At that meeting, with the bond market being in turmoil, our financial advisor recommended that we postpone that until the 22nd. Subsequently, we learned that the city of Georgetown was hitting the market today with an extremely large, 3 issues actually. And the concern was that our bonds would not be competitive with AAA rated city of Georgetown. So our financial advisor again recommended delaying our bond sale until next week, April 29. We would go April 29 regardless of the market. We need to sell these bonds. So a special meeting next Tuesday would then sell. We'd sell at that in the morning of the 29th. So the action tonight is approving a resolution to delay for yet one more week till April 29. And we'll see you at that 5:30 that night.
All right. Any comments or questions? All right. Chair would entertain a motion.
I move we approve item 14 as presented.
Second. Motion is second to approve the delaying action on $17.7 million worth of bonds. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? No, I'm gonna pay. Good. I'm good. That's all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.